Howdy, and welcome back to another episode of World Bigfoot Radio.
It's really interesting hearing about the way all this sort of stuff happened with you. So the first time you saw him, you were like 5 years old, and it was through the window. And the second time you saw him was the next encounter you were talking about. How old were you then?
The second encounter was in my teenage years.
Oh, okay. So you skipped that
And
one. What are you doing skipping
yeah, I
encounters?
skipped that one. Huh?
What are you doing
I,
skipping them? You're supposed to be telling them in chronological order.
dude, there's just so many. There's just people will go crazy. I go crazy about it.
Yeah, well, I think it really freaks some people out, even more than, oh my God, I saw a Bigfoot, and they're like, oh yeah, right. And then you hear somebody that's like got multiple Bigfoot stories, and they start going, oh please. Well, you know
Yes.
what? Some people live near these things their whole life, and there's always stuff with them going on. So to them, it's just like no big deal. These things live around
Yeah.
here, and we got to put up with them. Whatever.
Yeah. That's why, when people have their encounters and then they're all excited about it and all of that. But when you live around them or they live around you, whichever it is, you just kind of have to excuse each other for getting in each other's way because they if you leave something out, they're going to take it. If it's food, they're going to take it. If it's livestock that's left unattended, they're going to take it. If it's like off the ways, maybe 400 feet from the house, they're going to take that livestock because they know that nobody's out there to be really watching it. That's the reason why people they take livestock And then also they bother livestock when it's kind of like way out there also, and in the darkness. That's the reason why uh, that happens. For me, my livestock is just about maybe 100 feet away. The wind travels east to west, and sometimes west to east, and then north west to southwest, and it stays on that side. There's no smell. Is what I'm trying to get at from the livestock. And so I picked a good location that it has that like that where the wind blows. Only on that side. Yeah, it'll go through mine also, but the smell doesn't come this way towards my house.
Now you have
And
like pretty regular issues with the Holstein showing up and messing around on your property, right?
yeah, to this day, they're either be looking at me through the window. I've had snapshots of them. I've put up my field camera from the inside of my house, and I've taken pictures of those. Then some of them look like wolves. Some of them look like just a regular man. I tease my brother, this one that's looking at me from the window with that good shot looks like you. And then he's like, damn, man, that's an insult. I don't look that ugly, he says.
The no-nose ones.
Yeah, those are one. But they actually really look handsome on some of them. They're very, if they came out and shaved themselves, I bet you we lose a lot of women. That's what I say, because they're 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 very muscular. They're very built, and they had that. One of them I actually seen with the kind of like the square, kind of big mandible, but which makes it the whole face look square,
Hmm.
and like looking like a Norse, old Norse warrior. I mean, he looked magnificent.
That's
Uh,
scary.
I, I even was like, whoa, is that a man or really a Hosteen? But it was big though. That's how they are, and I always tease my sisters or my cousins with it. So like that.
Well, that brings me to another question I'm sure people would be interested in hearing, and that is that, you know, how many different varieties of Bigfoot type creatures do you guys have in that area?
Um, we have the 7 footer, 6 and 7 footer that hang around all the time around here, and they're usually kind of like mangy ones,
Hmm.
and they
Do,
have round faces.
do they run on all fours, or do they usually stay
Yeah,
on
they
two
they
feet?
they do both. They
Okay.
they do both,
They got round
and they
faces?
round faces. Yeah,
Okay.
and then there's the much smaller one, maybe my let's see, 5 footer. I always thought that one I call Grandpa was my size. He was digging in the trash, and I went out there, spotlighted him. He bolted out of there, but then he ran like a chimpanzee. That was the thing. Not the bow-legged or anything like that, but he raised his arm way up high, like
Right.
like you're saying, this is a stick up,
Right.
that kind of thing, and he ran off like that, and I seen his face, and then first thing that reminded me was the that witch on Wizard of Oz. Remember that the
Oh,
green face?
yeah, the Wicked Witch of the
Yeah,
West.
the Wicked Witch. He did. That's what it reminded, because it had a skinny nose and kind of hooked, human
Jesus.
looking.
Yeah, if that was
And
over in Scandinavia, they just think it was a troll. It's even got the face.
yeah, yeah, really?
Oh yeah, trolls had long noses, da 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 da,
Oh,
furry,
yeah.
hairy.
That's
And
that's
interestingly, just if you go back to that same area, was the Danes. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Beowulf, based on a real manuscript, which actually is the oldest manuscript still in existence written in the English language. And the epic poem talks about this troll who lives on the edge of this swamp named Grendel. And if you make too much noise, he gets pissed off and comes and attacks you and rips your arms off and beats you to death with them. And it sounds sort of kind of like what the not so friendly version of what happened with the Cookie Monster there. Oh, they're making too
Yeah.
much noise. Let's go fuck with them. But
Yeah.
yeah, sort of the same thing. So it's like, and the description of those things is, they got a long nose, sometimes a long hooked or pointed, scimitar-shaped nose or whatever.
Uh-huh.
The whole sort of thing. It's like basically you're describing the same thing there. And these guys are little. They're like they get 5 feet tall, maybe.
Somewhere around there, yeah. Because he wasn't that big, and he ran out, and he tried the way I thought about it. He tried to make himself look tall by raising his hand. That's the way I understood it.
I've seen video of gibbons and chimpanzees running just on their hind legs, and they both do that. I think it's like for stability, to help them keep their balance or something. They put their arms up like that. And yeah, again, it also makes them look bigger. So, and usually if they're doing something like that, it's like they're trying to put on a display, hey, I'm huge and dangerous, don't mess with me. And so that would make sense they'd be doing it for that reason too.
Yeah. Which, like you said about Grendel, that's what we used to do a long time ago. We didn't know. Me and my cousins and my brothers, my buddies, we used to bet $5 each just to shake the hut on one of them. We didn't know what it was. We didn't, at the time when I was way younger, probably about 14 years old, 15 years old. And of course, I was the fastest, so they'd send me down there. If I got a growl, then I would collect all the money that was put in. If I got a yell, then I had extra. That's how I had my money. So, you would shake the door of them huts, run back as fast as I could, and never thinking that it might follow me and catch me and tear my arms off and
beat
beat me
you
to
over the
death
head
with
with
it.
them.
So, it kind of reminded me of that, and that's what we used to do out here. It's probably possibly true.
Didn't your parents
But
ever tell you not to play ding dong ditch it on a troll?
only my uncle said that when I was running, and this thing would follow me. Right before that one, the year before that one, my dad was training me how to, be a warrior. They went through the warrior training, the Navajo earthquake, getting up zero dark 30, and go running, yelling, and just be out there with nature. That's what happened. One morning, I kept hearing something behind my back, so I turned around. There was just something that darted in the bushes, kind of like maybe 500 feet.
Hmm.
But I just went on running. I just said that I am man and I'm the greatest and all of that in Navajo, and I kept on running. That's part of warrior training.
Yeah.
And here, went on my way, went back to the house, nothing. It was still dark. And I kept hearing it every time I ran, something would follow me. But I kept looking back. So I thought, okay, I'll wait around for 30 minutes or something like that. That's when they started to get really lit up, and I started to run. And here, I got to the same place. It was a rocky uh, crop out of the hill. I got to there, and here I turned around real fast, and there it was, just about maybe 10, 20 feet or something like that, right behind me.
Holy crap! He was really close up to you.
Yeah, and I looked around. I didn't know what it was. I thought, I mean, I seen it right there. It was kind of mangy also, and I thought it was a what they call a goat man or something like that, because the hair on it looked like there was horns on it, which kind of just curls below the earlobes.
Hmm.
And I picked up a rock and just as I let out a grunt, kind of like that, just kind of hey, like that, and threw the rock at it, and it stepped back, and I took off again, and went on my way again through the hills, and then made a left, and there was a real big cone hill that I came up upon. When I got on top and I looked back, this thing was still way out there where I ran in the sand dunes, peeking out on top of the sand and then on the side of the sand. So I thought, okay, whatever it was, maybe it was one of my cousins playing a trick on me with a mask. So I took off the other way again, and there was two hills that I went through, and I went all the way out. I looked to my left to see where it's at again. I thought it had left, and if it was one of my cousins, they'll be, really running fast, trying to catch up with me. But then when I looked that way, I seen what I pictured was a baboon running towards me on all fours.
Oh my
With
God.
all the hair and everything just going back and forth, woom, 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 like that. And I didn't know, what I seen, so I took off. There, I had seen a monster, so I took off, and I ran as fast as I could. I ran probably faster than Speedy Gonzalez and Superman.
So,
And
so this one you're saying it looked like a baboon, or it was just running like a baboon?
we're just running just by the how the hair went back and forth
Yeah,
on top. It looked like a baboon running.
yeah. I know what you're saying because like some of those baboons have sort of a mane that stretches out from the top of their head to their back a little ways, and when they run on all
Yes,
fours, it's like really obvious.
yeah. But the thing on the side, toward on the body, was kind of skinny also. But the hair on top of it and the shoulders and everything was going swaying back and forth as it's running on all fours. And here I took off, and I didn't stop. I was out of breath, and I went to just then. My uncle was walking towards my dad's house, and here I told him about it. Oh, I had tears in my eyes because I seen that thing right there, and it stopped in the wash. There was that tree line right by the wash. Also, it stopped right there, but I kept on running as fast as I could all the way until I met my uncle. And then my uncle, just then my dad walks out, and my uncle was holding on to me. I was kind of in tears and couldn't speak. And finally, I told him, there's something out there that followed me. And then he gets mad at, my uncle gets mad at my dad. And he says, don't why are you letting him run while it's still dark? Let him run, while, it's kind of lit up. There's this thing, you know that there's something down there, the horse face that's down there. We know that. And it might catch him and eat him. And then my dad looks at me and he says, did you see it? I said, yeah, I saw it. It followed me. And then he says, yeah, that's good, son. You beat that monster. He said, no, no mercy, whatsoever. He just told me that. So I beat the monster that was out there. I graduated my warrior training.
Last part of warrior training. You go run in the dark. If monster and not eat you, you brave now.
You get two more
What the
feathers
hell,
up.
man? That's really tough. I'm not sure I like that Navajo tradition. You gotta go out running in the dark, and if the monster doesn't catch you and eat you, you're all good.
Yeah.
Oh my
So
God. That must
it
have
was,
been scary as hell to have that thing following you like that.
yeah. Yeah, the good thing about it is if you run in the dark, you don't see it. You're good to go.
Oh my
But if
God.
during
Once
the day,
once you
during the
see it,
day,
yeah. Well, if it's only friggin' 20 feet behind you, unless it's like completely lightless, you can see it anyway.
yeah, during the day, you see it, so it's kind of scary. You know what you're looking at. In the
Yeah.
dark, you don't, so you don't know what it is. Kind of that vice, uh, reverse, reverse way of thinking. I don't know, but I went through that, and in here in high school, they used to ask me, "Man, Randy, you can run. You're you're a top runner for the school," and I was making like 4 minutes per mile.
Wow. Yeah, it's nice to be able to run fast if you have to accidentally run away from Bigfoot. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's why I say, but back in the day, I've been trained by Bigfoot. You know.
He trained me how to run fast, long distances, just by following me.
Yeah.
Ah!
Oh, man.
Every time you get tired, you just look back, get another burst of adrenaline, take off again.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Yeah,
Here,
that's a really scary encounter, man. You're out there, you have no weapon. It's night. One of these damn things is following you. I mean, my God, what was going through your mind at that point?
I was scared. I
Well,
was
I
scared.
bet. Yeah.
That's the only thing, get away from it. That was it.
What did you think it was? It was just following you for fun, or do you think it intended to do something?
It was the way I thought about it was the priority was for me to run, and that's what I had in mind. But I was scared.
Well,
I
God,
ran
yeah.
faster. I ran faster than I usually did because I was scared. And the thing about it, it didn't follow me all the way. Like I said, I after I had the encounter and then I took off again, it didn't follow me when I got on top of the hill,
Right.
on that
It was
cone hill.
still
It's a
down on the dunes, sort of peeking out at you back then.
Yeah, it was still back there. Maybe it was because I threw a rock at it at the time. I didn't, I didn't
Did you actually hit
really.
him with the rock, or did you just throw it in his direction?
I threw it in his direction,
Okay.
with a grunt.
Well, that's pretty
And
universal warning right there. Like, hey, quit screwing around.
yeah, and that's when I think he was gonna catch up to me when I went behind the hill, the two hills after I got off the cone, going in between the two hills. It probably thought that it was gonna hide somewhere. It had some real big boulders on the two hills that I'm talking about, and also the next hill. It had
Oh,
some real
yeah.
big
So he could have,
boulders.
like, cut around there and been hiding behind one of those boulders when you were going
Yeah,
by.
and let me just run right by me and then giggle about it or something like that, and
Yeah.
then follow
Or
me again.
clothesline you as you're going past. Or grab you
Yeah,
by the head and snap your neck.
yeah, something like that. But it, um, I mean, that's probably the reason why it was running real fast, on all fours. I mean, it was booking it, and I thought it was gonna, it was booking for me, so I took off as fast as I could. And I just ran, and I didn't care what I ran, went through all those thorn bushes and whatnot. I ran through them.
Yeah, I know that feeling. When I was 10 and I saw that one of mine, I couldn't get out of there fast enough. I wish I had rockets strapped to my butt to fire the sled faster because I
Yeah.
would have used them. Now, so like when you saw him and he was following you 20 feet away, stopped, threw a rock at him, was there enough light to make out any details on the face at all?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I thought that one of my cousins was playing a trick on me.
Uh huh.
Maybe put on a mask or something like that. It looked kind of human, but it had nowadays I recognize that face because the Wolverine has that hairline
Hmm.
around the face, and it looked human.
Was the whole
But
face covered with hair, or were there parts where there was just open skin
it was open skin,
on the whole face?
just like if you were to see the Wolverine with the beard,
Hmm.
that's the way it was. That's what I seen, and the rest was just white, just like I said. I saw clearly in the early dawn, and like I said, it was now. I can say that it was mangy because it didn't have a lot of hair on the body, And that's for that reason. Back then, I thought it was a man because monsters have hair all over it. That's what we all grew up with it like that. But this one had parts that had like no hair. Majority of it didn't really have hair, but only towards the backside. So there are masks out there that people can manipulate as to where they have kind of make it look like natural. That's what I thought at first until I seen it run on all fours.
Then you went, oh, that's not a person in a suit.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a pretty good sign when it runs on all fours. So this thing had like a round head. Did it have a long nose or just short nose or flat nose or skinny nose? Or
I'd say kind of like a round nose. Who would? Let me see. Remember that Dr. Fields nose? Kind of pointy
uh-huh.
and kind of fat. That kind of a nose. And the grin was more like shoot. Uh, what was that guy on that the Iron Man?
Which guy in Iron Man? You mean the guy that plays Iron Man, or what are you talking
And yeah, the one that plays Iron Man.
Well, Tony Stark is the character, and
Yeah.
Robert Downey
See,
Jr.
see how the lips, his lips, the way I see it, he's got thin lips, and he doesn't really smile, with real big teeth or anything like that. It's just just showing a little bit of teeth, or kind of little. It still has a lip, the
Could you
moist part.
could you see very much of his teeth? Did you have like white chiclets and canines like we have, or was it different than the way a human's teeth would be set up?
It's the same way as the human teeth is set up. I didn't see the canines or anything like that, but I seen the maybe the four front teeth on both top and bottom.
Okay. It sounds to me
And
like it might be what we generally refer to as a type 2 that's what was chasing around there.
yeah, I don't I don't put them in types. I just put them in sizes.
Well, we do that. The reason that some of us do that anyway is because we're taking reports from all over the country and all over the world. So when you can find things in them that are similar from place to place, you can start putting them into classifications. And the locals are always going to have a different name for it because they have a local name for it. Last guest that I had on here was talking about when he was down in Tennessee, and all the locals down there said, "Don't go after dark. Don't go out after dark, or the haint will get you." Okay, so like nobody else is using that word except for that part of the country, but they're talking about a Bigfoot type critter. So it's useful for people like me that are trying to get more data on these things to be able to catalog them and put them into, like this is this type and this is that type. And it seems like across the board, once you figure out which type you're dealing with, you can almost predict what kind of behavior you're going to get out of them. And that's, not like 100%, but like in general, the type 2s are more primitive than the type 1s, and they run on all fours, more often. And they have the rounder head, and they have teeth more or less like we do. And they love playing pranks on humans, and they're very curious. They're noisier than type 1s are. So, I mean, that's just to me from your description. Sounds like you had a type 2 chasing you. So,
Mhm.
may not have intended harm, but no way to be sure with those guys.
It scared the crap out of me
Oh,
though.
God, I believe that.
Yeah, and then there's the other one that comes down from the mountain. Those are the ones that are huge, magnificent, with the cone head. And those are the ones that come off the mountain. That one actually was looking at me through the window.
Oh, my God.
What was that?
I said, "Oh my God!" It was looking at you through your window. We're talking about one of the big guys.
That yeah. No, I didn't take a picture of that one. That one was, one night back in 2010. That was I was watching TV, and in fact, I was watching Quest for Fire. I was laying down on the couch, and I was laying downwards, looking at the TV, and the show was over, and I rolled on my couch, lay upwards. I rolled, looked through the window because my street lights are in the back of my house, so there's two of them, and it really beams in. So with that silhouette right there, right at the window, um, scared me. So
Yeah,
I,
regular Bigfoot's scary enough. That's like way beyond scary there.
yeah, it was, I seen the silhouette just right there. It wasn't from the shoulder or anything. It was like I could see the space in between the arms and all of that, but they had like wide shoulders and the head just looking at me, and cone head, and I just pulled the blankets over, got my remote control, turned the TV back on, started the movie back up. I don't know when it left.
Could it see the TV screen looking through the window from where it was at?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
so
had
that's
it.
what it was doing. It was watching the movie.
It was watching the movie. Yes, it was.
And with
It
considering
probably
the
like,
yeah, considering the kind of movie it was, it probably could relate to some of it.
yeah, that's what I thought. That's why I started it back up. Go look at the movie. Don't look at me. That, so,
It's hilarious what people do in situations like that sometimes, or like they see something that's just like horrible and it's like 50 feet away from them. And, well, I don't have a gun. There's nothing I can do about it. Might as well just continue on with what I was doing and hope I get lucky.
yeah, yeah,
Oh my God. Yeah,
yeah.
that would be
That,
scary. So what now? I heard you actually got to find a track line from that big old mountain giant up there at some point. And somebody called you and said, "Hey, they found a track line." You went up there and checked it out.
yeah, they were saying that they had found an 18-footer out there, and
Jesus.
I was like, nah, no way. So I headed up there, and me, my cousin, and another researcher, and a friend of mine from down Phoenix. We went up there, and we didn't actually go to that place with them, but when I went up there with me and my cousin, then that's when we measured it all, and then he told us it was holding the branch right here, and I was hurting my cows on that side or my sheep on that side, and it kind of just looked at me, and it would had the arm was right where the tip of its head was, that branch as where it was holding on to. That's where its head was. He said. So when we measured it, it was 18 feet,
Good God.
and here tracks around it was 23 inches.
Yeah, that's gigantic. Was the detail good enough to see if it had 4 or 5 toes?
It had one, two, three, about 5 toes. It had
Okay.
5 toes, and that's why I
Ginormous.
couldn't. I could not believe it.
Wow.
And
Well, is there any kind of, again, questions for my own benefit? Sorry about that, folks. Is there only one of them around there, or is there like multiple ones up there?
there's the big ones. Always, all everybody says is the big ones are up there. The
Okay,
big ones
so
are on top of the
so they're
mountain.
not like specific. They know that there's at least a big one up there,
Yeah,
but there could be more than one, so they say big ones.
yeah.
Okay,
And
and you know
the
what's
people that live
interesting?
by the people that live by the mountain, they always say that thing was looking at me over the juniper tree. So them juniper trees are somewhere around in that height, about 18 feet, 17 feet, something like that.
So
And
now
they're
this
looking
thing's like,
over it.
Jesus God, that's that is the size of an adult mountain giant, as it's been reported quite a few times. A couple people up in Alaska, the hunters up there, ran into them and said the same thing. That was right about the height that they were talking about. Um, did any of the witnesses get a good look at the face? I'm just curious if it had what frequently are described as tusks, like the lower canines protrude from between the lips, like you see in old drawings of
Um,
ogres and stuff.
they never said anything. All they said was that it looked um, just like a human face.
Ha,
More bigger mandibles.
right.
That
Bigger
was that
jaw.
was bigger jaw. Yeah, that was the only thing that they said. Other than that, it looked human.
Did it have any sign of using any kind of, like we would think of, technology, clothing, Stone Age weapons, anything like that? Or is it just like it's got hair on it and it's like a Bigfoot?
Just like hair on it, it looks like a Bigfoot, and it was just standing there, real still, holding on to the branch
My God,
of a
that's eight.
of a pine tree.
Yeah, if he's watching somebody herding sheep around, you can about guess what he's thinking.
Yeah, get
That's
get
not going
two
to
or
be too hard to
three.
extrapolate.
Yeah, and then the one of my cousins did say that he was herding his cows back to the corral, and then he all of a sudden he heard a thud, and he was looking around and didn't bother with it again and kept maybe a few more feet. There was another thud, and that's when he'd seen the rock roll, and so he didn't mind it, and he kept on going. Another few feet, about maybe 15 feet, there was another one. That's when he was watchful for where the rocks were coming from. So he found out where they were coming from. They just where that rock came from. So he started looking towards his right, and he was on his horse, and his horse kind of like got skittish, and he was looking and looking and looking, nothing on the just within the area. But then as he started going up the cliff, looking away on top of the cliff, about 300 feet away on top of I'd say that the cliff was about 30 feet on top from there. It was picking up real big rocks, about 10 inches, 10-inch rocks, and throwing that to him, scaring him. And then he says, the bad thing about it, he says, every time my horse kind of like jumped with me, got real skittish, this thing would kind of have a low laugh. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Oh man,
I didn't like him, he says.
yeah, he's picking on you. That's a good reason to
Yeah.
not like him.
Yeah, throwing rocks at him just to see a reaction. The horse almost bucks with him and gets, all of that. That's what that Huss team was laughing about.
Oh jeez.
For that reason, they consider it, man.
Yeah.
They're doing things like that, and like I said, it don't always occupy itself with something. It's not always there to rip off your arms, not unless you get too close and messing with it and try and get like $80-$90 from it.
If you go up and keep bugging him for spare change,
Yeah,
then he'll rip your arm off
yeah,
and beat you over the head with him.
yeah, yeah. So
Well,
that's what happened. That's what he told me. He says, "Hey, these people are no good." He says, "Be careful when you go up to the mountains. You might drop a rock right on your head." He says,
yeah,
"Just
that's
to
another
see
thing that
you."
scares me too about some of these missing people. They can pick up a big like a boulder practically, and they can huck them so fast and so accurately. They don't have to be anywhere near you. They can throw a rock and take your head off, and then just walk over and pick your corpse up and walk off with it.
Yeah. In fact, myself and Brenda Harrison, some people, these people were from on top of there. They took us to a cave, and we looked in there, and there were still fingerprints on it.
Wow.
Still, had been lived in, cleaned out, and stuff like that out there. So they just crawl into something. And, when they cold or if they want to go to sleep, they just crawl into whatever they can find.
Yeah.
If they have time, or if they have a baby, that's when you see these structures. That's what I have noticed too.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like they just all of a sudden go to a forest and then start building something. No, they're covering up something else.
Mm-hmm.
That's that something is a baby. And I started to see a lot of that, when I started to look around here. And just recently, a friend of mine came around. We seen it, seen what it could do, how it builds, and it just brings a branch down or something like that, and then puts things together right there, and goes in there and let the baby just sleep while it's foraging around.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the not has seen, but for me, I have seen that. But that's what I was telling them, and then we started hearing the whoops. So that's when he said he was skeptical, but then after hearing the whoops and seeing all the things that was going on, or how they were building along the river down below from me, just confirms that I wasn't lying. So he was amazed by it, and then when he took his wife took pictures, and they were telling me that they had found something in the pictures. So I haven't gotten to those pictures yet, and I took them out there, and they confirmed what they were there for. So and I told them, hey, I don't even have to yell out. I don't have to do this stuff. I just had to go out there and kind of laugh and have myself, and and then the time down there, and then they'll come around.
Yeah,
So,
I got a couple more questions for you about the big guy that lives up in the high mountains up there, which interestingly enough, in other parts of even up in Alaska and other parts of the country, especially up there, they seem to have legends about that. Like the regular Bigfoot stays mostly in the forests and the swamps, and then the up in the rocky areas is where the man eaters are, and then in the very, very top of the mountains are where the big ones live. So that seems to match in with what everybody talks about with them. Um, Apparently, the guys that are up and high in the mountains don't come down very often. Is it like during the winter that they show up?
yeah.
And then, well, so that's understandable. They need more food, and there isn't much of anything up in the top of the mountains during the winter.
Yeah.
Does the big guy ever? Is it like a regular thing for him to steal food from humans, or does he just scare all animals in general and scare off all the other cryptids and stuff too?
When the big guys, that's what I noticed. When the big guys come off the mountains, everybody disappears.
Yeah, I can see why. They're coming
All
down
these
because they're hungry
monsters,
and they're huge.
yeah, all these other monsters, they disappear. So they're the only ones that are around, and that's what I have noticed also. And they're the ones that that will take a sheep, a pig, or whatever.
Yeah.
But these other ones, the ones that are hanging around here, they're always looking for a free meal. They'll be
Yeah.
doing raiding the dumpsters. And another friend of mine, the researcher, he was telling me that we were, I mean, they were seen in the dumpsters in the middle of the city.
Jesus.
So, and also there was one that was seen looking in on the public swimming pool area. Yeah, the public swimming pool for little kids is all covered, with glass. But one was seen standing from one of the start of the windows where the windows start and looking in
Yeah.
until somebody else saw it and then it took off. So it's always there if you have kids or if you have little babies crying and all that. Then they'll
Yeah.
come.
Again, creepy. That attracts their attention.
Yes, and then about the me and my wife, we went out to we were invited out to his brother's camp out, and here late at night, when I woke up, there was wood tapping, going on, and then there was an awful cry, like a little baby, infant baby crying, and we could just hear movement around our tent. It even checked the camper locks. It checked it, and we heard all of that. And then we needed to go to the restroom. And when I woke up, then both my brother-in-law's wife and my wife, they were already awake. And I guess we were just sawing logs, us men, until I woke up. And we woke up, my brother-in-law, we decided to go use the restroom. And when we started to go out outside the tent, everything stopped. All that commotion stopped. Didn't matter, what they were doing or where they were at. They probably just froze right there and started looking at us. But for us, we needed to go to the restroom. We walked the ladies to the restroom, came back, went back inside, and then the crying started again.
Wow.
And then after, in the morning, everybody was like, "What the hell was that? Did you hear that last night? Did you hear that baby crying?" And all of that. Everybody that were camped in the whole area right there in the campground, all asking each other. We knew what it was. Me and my
Yeah.
wife knew what it was because we've heard it, and we knew what it was. And the only bad thing about it is we didn't expect to hear that way out there.
Yeah.
We always, we thought that these hustings were over here, and that was bad enough. And when we heard it out there, it was kind of like more entertaining. But everybody else was excited about it.
Wow.
That was the thing, and
You know,
they
it's
asked
it's really
us.
disturbing sometimes. I mean, we know that they're excellent mimics. They mimic all the animal and bird sounds and stuff. They're really pretty good at it for the most part. But it's when they start mimicking human sounds that it gets really creepy because sometimes you wonder what their intention is. Example is one of the Bigfoot outlaws who would call his dogs in every night and he'd just yell the two
Uh,
dogs' names and they'd come running up to the house and he'd let them in. And he's sitting there and it's getting close to the time when he comes to call his dogs into the house and there's all of a sudden he hears himself from out in the woods calling the
yeah,
dogs. And the
yeah.
dogs see him standing right there, and they're looking at him, and then looking at the woods, and then looking back at him, and looking at the woods. And he opens the door and goes, "Get in the house."
Yeah, it's scary when uh
But my point is, you got to wonder what their motivation is. If they're trying to call the dogs out there to them, what are they planning?
get them out of the way.
Yeah, or maybe they're just hungry, and that's like an easy food source. But
That's
I'm
that's what I
not,
mean.
I'm not thinking they're going to go flip the frisbee for the dogs for a couple hours or something. They
Yeah,
have ill intention, is what I'm saying.
yeah, yeah. They're calling them out there. You, hey, pizza, come to me or
Yeah,
something like.
yeah, and I've heard reports all over the country from them doing the same sort of thing with coyotes, where it'll sound like there's one coyote on one hill calling out to a pack of coyotes on the other hill, "Hey, I'm over here. I'll kick your butt." And then the other coyotes are dumb enough to go over and accept the challenge and bark, bark, yip, yip, and all of a sudden you hear like yeep, and
Yep.
and then it's silent. and there's no more coyotes making noise. And you're
Yeah,
going, okay, what exactly just happened out there? Was that really a coyote that called the other ones in?
yeah.
Maybe not.
That actually happened to me down by the river. I was taking pictures of footprints, and I went as far as I could, and I was coming back, and I seen a footprint going like halfway into the water. So then I took pictures of it, and as I was standing back up, I heard my name being called, ran out from the thicket of the forest. I I just booked it out of there, just to walk swiftly out of there, got in my truck, took off. And they will do that, yeah. They, it's just like a horse sound, ran like that.
Yeah, I
And
remember hearing a
there's
story.
only one person that calls me that. So that thing that called me from the thicket has been around my house, real close, sitting there for that other person to call me out, and I
Uh-huh.
will go over there. See,
Jesus. Well, and it's trying to call you over to where it is, and again, for what purpose? And
yeah,
I heard another account of a gentleman who was he was going to walk down this trail, and it kind of went downhill, and then it went back up another hill, and in between there was this real thick thicket. And just as he was starting down the hill, he got this really bad feeling about this thicket. So he stopped, and all of a sudden he heard from the thicket this really deep, nasty voice say, "Come over here," and it used his first name. And at that point, the hair on the back of his neck stood up, and he turned around and ran the opposite direction.
yeah, they'll mimic real good.
God, that's scary. I mean, when you think about it, if they have ill intentions and they're that good at mimicking, um, Jesus,
Yeah,
they're not dumb. They're
yeah, they're
smart.
not dumb. They're not dumb. And as my grandpa used to say when he was alive, my dad's dad, what he used to say is, "As humans, we're the dumbest people on the face of this earth," he would say. We're so trashy, he says. And then we're so dumb that we can't even run fast. We can't run as fast as the lions or these cats, he says. They're even smaller than us, he says. And they're quicker than us.
Yep.
And then we can't yell out real loud or bark real loud as to where another person a mile away can hear us. We can't even smell one another 100 feet away. And these animals can do these things. So all the animals got together, surrounded the man, and started asking him questions, "Can you do this? Can you do this?" Then the human would human would just walk around, and say, "No, I can't do that. No, I can't do that. But I can. The only thing I can do is make sounds to make a sentence. That's the only thing," says. Even the horse, if we were to race a horse, the horse would beat us.
Oh
And
God,
we
yeah.
think that one's dumb. And we think that horse, we can train that horse. But actually, the horse trains us to sit on, hold on, shut up, and sit down, hold on, and shut up, and let me do my part.
Yeah, I know what I'm supposed to do. Quit getting in the way of it, you dumb human.
Yeah.
That's about it too. I like
That's why,
horses.
of course, he was looking at a TV, looking at the what do you call it, the the horse, the cutting horse. You know how they separate them cows with the cutting horse?
Yeah,
And go then like that, and he was looking at it. And see, they do it themselves. All the rider has to do is hold on.
that's pretty cool. Well, one other thing I wanted to talk to you about while I got you on here is the and this sort of thing happens up here too. I know it's more of a phenomenon on the reses than it is just in the general outer areas, and we've had discussions on what we think might be causing that too. But um, you do get these reports of people going missing and/or people being attacked and killed by these things, and then it seems like there's always a cover up. And sometimes we tend to, as researchers, tend to stumble right into these things. And I was curious if you were interested in talking about any of the possible Bigfoot attacks, violent and aggressive stuff that's been happening down there in the last few years.
Oh, dude, that one's a no-no.
Okay. You don't want to talk about it? That's fine by me,
Yeah,
man.
that one's a no-no. You get in trouble with that one.
Yeah. Well, I know they try and cover up missing persons and stuff up here in Montana for the most part. And we've already caught them some really big fibs in the newspaper that were completely the opposite of what was actually going on. And, like giving the person who is doing the paperwork and whatnot, who is least likely to be able to be questioned about anything, the charge of it. Like, for example, when there was a person who was mysteriously torn apart limb from limb. Now in Stevensville, they didn't find his body for 2 weeks, even though they had 3 dog rescue teams and a helicopter. They still couldn't find his remains. And there was no trail for the dogs to trail, or there was a trail, but it was something they weren't going to trail. And anyway, they finally found his remains. And instead of, since it was right on the border of Missoula and Mineral County, they gave it to Mineral County since they're like tiny. There isn't any city there. And mysteriously enough, the chief of police is also the coroner. And so there was never any autopsy information released on this guy. There was never a funeral held for him or anything. And, like how that's not supposed to sound weird to people that are paying attention to local things going on is beyond me. But this is just the kind of crap they do on a regular basis to try and cover up the fact that these things are occasionally dangerous and they do kill people.
Yeah, I would agree on that one.
Just, Joe Ordinary out for a stroll happens to get attacked by one or something. I mean, there's people in the government that have had these issues too. And I can't go too far with it, but I have reason to believe that there is actually somebody working for forestry in this state that may have disappeared as a result of one of these things. And it wasn't all that long ago. And from what I heard, the locals weren't even allowed to deal with it. The federal government came in, told everybody to shut up, and they had dealt with the problem, whatever it was. Draw your own conclusions on that.
Yep.
So, yeah. Well, that's just a common thing in a lot of the parts of the country. I don't think they're very dangerous, but there are some areas, some sub-varieties are more aggressive than others. Some of them are really freaking dangerous. Thank God there's not very many of them. What would you rate there on the res as being probably the most dangerous? If there was like a cryptid on the res you wouldn't want to run into, what would it be?
That one, it would, yeah. You never know what these things will do, and I always say that I always want to see them first. If they're looking at me and I just happen to look upon them also, then I would, think about an escape way first before I do anything. And that's in order to kind of keep everything calm. That would be like do what they do. Do like I said, I threw a rock at them. There was no gun, nothing like that. I threw a rock at them. I grunted at them. Or everybody here on the res, the first thing they say when they haven't got scared yet is that human growl. We even have a growl. And that's what makes him kind of leave, just casually leave. That means that get away.
Yeah.
You're not welcomed here.
So
And
you
that,
wouldn't recommend actually running away from one of these things, would
no, you would make a sound first, just like any animal. You see a coyote, and you walk upon the coyote, and the coyote sees you real close. First thing he's gonna do is growl at you.
you? Mm-hmm.
Even a dog, even a cat will do that. Even the little prairie dogs and horses, if they don't recognize you, they will snort also before they kind of welcome you. That's, the proper greeting of like, who is that? Or you scared me, or get away.
Even like squirrels, you walk underneath the squirrel's tree and it barks at you.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll do that first. That's why, for everyone out here, when they're like wanting this thing to leave, all they say is eh. They say that to them, and they usually the sound stops,
Huh.
and
That's
that's the
interesting.
growl.
So again, it sounds more or less like they're just pushing the envelope to see how much they can get away with. Is what it sounds like. You think when they come up and slap houses and stuff, they're basically counting coup on you guys?
What they're doing is they want a reaction.
Yeah.
The same thing as like saying shit. There's just boom. What do people do? First thing they do is run.
Yeah.
So they know where you ran to.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's easy to go to that place and look at them from either if they have a window from there. So if there's one that's right there, or there's a whole bunch of people or little kids in there, boom, they're gonna run in the room. And then it's easy to know where they're at. So then, they look at them from the room. If it's an adult, the adult's gonna stop first, look around, see if it happens again. And then it happens again. And that's when they either go run in the room.
To everyone, safety first, last, and always. Pay it forward. Don't be mean to people if you don't have to be. Don't flip off the mountain giant. Don't poke Dogman with a stick. Don't punt the puck, would you? And for God's sake, whatever you do not hug the Wookiee.